Down there is where we were. It wasn't 100, maybe 100 yards. There goes the natural drain, and there's the bridge. Hasn't been really quite finished. This has a name. This, when I was young, they called it the Jeep Trail, but it has an older name. It's called the Tram Road. I only ever heard one man call it that, but I perked up when he said that. I said, "Who did you ever hear call it that?" And he said, "Well, that's what it was always called." And that pile of stones right there, I'm going to call that one of the Enwerd Huts. And that's where we'll come at the end of a loop we're going to make. We're going to go up and see the incline. That's where I just was. There is a second Enwerd Hut, which will, let me zoom in on that, which we will look at later and closer. And here is the bridge, and it's going to be a reference for us. This road, Tram Road, I'm going to call it, it goes on that way, and I have some reason to believe it went the whole way to the most distant mining, which was about a half mile further on, not as extensive. There is something up here I want to show you that makes me think that the tram road turned the corner right there and then followed that escarpment or that bank. Here is what I wanted to show you. I came across this and leaned it against the tree. I didn't want to move it. This is one of the rails, and it would probably say a lot about the size of the cars or carts that came up through here. And it laid right about here. And that makes me think that that tram road, if it, or whatever, came around here and they took ore out along here. But we're going to go up. Oh, okay, one other thing I can show you now. There's a ring of stone right there which has been dumped. It's obviously been carted there and thrown off the side of the cart. Probably, well, maybe I should go over there. And see, before I go over there, look at this. I've never noticed this before, but I didn't do that, and that's not natural. I guess maybe you may be witnessing a feature at this very moment that I'm finding. Those stones probably shored up the side of that minecart track, I'll call it. Okay, we're going to go look at these stones. There's the bridge, and here is that ring of stones that's been thrown off a cart. Dumped, I would say almost certainly off the side of a cart. I guess it was involved in the clearing of this area. I've walked about 50 yards, maybe 100 yards on up, heading toward what I learned to call the incline, and I'm going along an old road. But I wanted to point out the way the stones are. On either side are the stones, and when loggers build roads like this with skidders, I don't think that's what they do. I don't think the result looks like that. So I rather think that this road was done at the time that the stones were moved to the sides by hand. Here you'll be able to see more clearly what I mean about the stones being seemingly piled on either side of this road. This does not look like the work of heavy machinery. Now we are approaching the incline, and again the stones seem to be piled on either side, but I must say every time I approach this, my heart stirs a little bit with excitement. I have suggested earlier, and I suggest again, this is the kind of site that in some places would be made sacred. Bom Jesus do Monte in Portugal. was naturally something remotely like this. Way up there you can see the end of an ore dump. We're going to go up there, the tailings, I think. And this water that comes down here only runs in the spring. That bank right there is a spoil bank from the mining when that face was mined. And we're going to go over there to look at a spring that always runs. That's the end of the dump, the ore dump, and down here is the spring. I checked it last summer, which was extremely dry, and there was a little bit of water coming out of it then. I would love to know what that bank ended up covering of this spring. Okay, we're going to go up there. Down there's the spring. I'm on the bank now. I could get used to this zoom, I think. And I can't fully explain very much of what you see here. There is our ultimate destination. We're almost up there. And those rocks over there, I guess that they were just waste. They were after iron ore. But there I maintain that there is building material. I am not only a carpenter, I am also a stonemason. And I see here stone that one man can lift, should lay beautifully. And I used to try to figure out what kind of building it once was, but I don't think it was a building at all. I think it was just discarded, because that's the face that they were mining. And up there is where we're going to go again. Here's another discovery of this moment. You can't see it, but you can hear it. There's water running under there. I'll remember that. Now the water, most of the water runs over here. And this is an old narrow road which curves sharply and then climbs. We're going to go up there. This could very easily be a skidder track from dragging logs down, or a log drag I should call it. I would guess maybe that's what this is. This is a log drag. But there is a road right up there which we'll soon be on. I'm standing on a very narrow road, and this I assume is an old boundary marker for the boundary between two properties, and it is currently on a boundary between properties when this farm was divided. When I was young, we came up here often. I called that Mother Beach. That's an American beach, and it's surrounded by its young, so I called her Mother Beach. And up there's where we're going to go. This road, I'm not going to film the whole way along it. It's quite narrow. I've had my tractor years and years ago. I drove my tractor up here, and it's older than much of what is up here. There's Mother Beach again. Here's the stone that was put to the side as this road was made. And I continue to be on the road, and in a moment, maybe I'll film that far, maybe not, you'll see where that, what I call a log drag, breaks off the side of it. Maybe not. But that's what we were looking at below. Here's where the log drag goes off, leaves the road and goes almost straight down. That's about the only thing I can imagine that is now, because the log would hold you back. Anything else, that would be pretty hazardous, I think. Now this road always puzzled, or for a long time puzzled me, because it seemed to just stop. And then you had to kind of go up a different way. I'll show you why in a minute. You may hear me huffing and puffing. That was a little bit steep at the end. Now we're on top of that spoil bank, and you might have some idea, there's a bucket a hunter had to sit on, you might have some idea of how much material was brought out of the mines up here by the size of this. But the answer to where that road goes is that it was buried. It was buried under this mound. Wow, I just saw something. There's where the road goes on, and I know exactly what it was going on to. We're going to go over there. But why I said, wow, I just saw something, was this, that iron. I had never noticed that before. And that looks like that's old. Sure, that's old. I'm going to leave it alone right now. I could zoom into it maybe. There's very little iron of any kind left from this work. Well, this could be the top of a Baroque stairway. Now, that way down there, maybe you can see way down there is the spring. I'm backing up, and there's the distant view. Yes, I often thought that. Okay, we're going to go over there. I guess, yes, we'll go there now. There's where I just was. This is that road coming along that was buried by that mound. And this vegetation around my feet is different from everything else. And I'm sure that vegetation says something. Very possibly there was a building here. But what clearly was here is the incline. There was an inclined plane right here where there were probably ropes where it brought one cart up and the other cart went down. And right here had to have been a really big wheel, and some of the only iron that I have ever found up here is this, and I haven't moved it very far. They cleaned everything up here at some point for scrap. I suspect it had to do with the First or Second World War. Okay, we're going to go look at the mining area. This should be recognizable. Down there's that spring. See if, and we were just over there. But now I'm looking up the mountain, and that seems to have been the entrance to a shaft mine that has caved in. Further up, other entrances to shaft mines or strip mines, I'm not sure. But we're going to follow that stone wall along to the corner it makes right over there. How about I zoom? Here the wall was damaged by a log skidder in one of the logging operations. They went right through it. You can see here, I'll go around. You can see the skidder tracks still up there. They're pretty rough. But we're going to now come over here to this corner, and it always fascinated me. Well, that pile of stones fascinates me, to tell you the truth. As I told you earlier, I'm a stonemason, and you sure could build with them as long as you laid them true and didn't stand them up on edges. Well, you could do that too if you wanted to, but I would never. I just went through a break in that wall. Maybe I'll turn around. And the reason I did that was because right over here is a strong source of water. This is the top of what we call the Loudwater. Right there is a water supply. It doesn't last year-round, but it's there a lot of the time. And get this, it is upstream. It is up from over there at the top of the incline. And just as in Bom Jesus do Monte in Portugal, there's a water balance funicular. Here, right there, is the power to be able to do that on a small scale. And wouldn't that be fun? Here's where that spring was. And there's the that high spot. I must name that. And here went the shaft mine. And this whole area up here, I cannot understand if they were just digging surface holes. I'm not sure. This seems to have been another place where they decided to pile their stones that they didn't want in the way. Oh, and I didn't explain. Those stones over there piled up, I assumed that they were done just to clear this whole area and make it easy to walk around in and move the wheelbarrows or whatever. This place was once so busy with activity, I'm sure. And I should at some point say that this was probably the busiest, probably about 1890 or so, but the work here might have begun 100 years before, very possibly. A guy named Bechtel owned this property up here, which had no farmland on it at all, when a Bowser and an Ickes owned the property down below that you earlier saw. Ickes where I live, and Bowser where the log cabin was. John and Eve Bowser. Here you can see more of what a log skidder does. Those are the tracks of a log skidder. You see, I'm trying to orient you so you can know where we are. This is that piece of iron. It seems like a bearing. Those ribbons on these trees, students came up here with me. I had we called it a mountain club, and we hiked up here, and we identified where this was. And you're looking down the incline plane. We're going to go down there, and I'll talk more about it when there's a level spot down there. Way down there you can see the spring that I mentioned. I could zoom. It's a new thing for me, this zooming. Well, I'm halfway down. You can see how the stones were humped up in the middle. I don't know if there would have been cross ties on them, probably. But then it either suddenly went very much steeper or else there was a trestle. I'm not sure, because I've not been able to find the bottom of this. Maybe a trestle across this whole area, because I know where the minecart went then. I'll show you soon. Assuming that was straight, which it about had to be, it predated that tulip poplar, no doubt, and it would have arrived about here where I'm standing, right where that old maple is. Now, that pile of stones down there, the last time I was up here, I regarded them as suspect. I had never noticed them before, but they could have had something to do with the base of a trestle. But the minecart track itself is over there. I'll show it to you soon. You can barely see it beginning. Let's see if I zoom, if you can. Yeah, I am zoomed, I guess, yeah. And there was another one below, too. I'll show you when we get over there. This is so hard to see, I'm sure, for most of you, but there's that maple I was just telling you about. But this line of stones right there marks the minecart track. And from here down for, maybe half a mile, it's on a very perfect gradient. It was done pretty clearly by an engineer, but it's been damaged by the log skidders. That's a skidder track down there. I'll show you later what it did. But I'll stop here and there and film this when it's easier to see what's actually here. Here you can see it. You can see it a little bit better. That line of stones right there. Now I say a perfect gradient. I guess I lied, because here it goes downhill and then uphill a little bit. All that brushwood, dead timbers falling over it. Here you can see it, I hope. And it's going to go on like that. And that feature right there, that big flat stone, for lack of a better name for it, I call that a big flat stone. And here's one too, and they used to just fascinate me. And I kind of gave up on figuring out how they're there and why. That first big flat stone that I mentioned, and the other smaller stones have been dug away from it pretty clearly. I might have done some of that. I was so mystified by that. These blue ribbons come from the time that the students were here, and we marked where this minecart track went. And I think you can see it out through there, I hope. There's an intersection right here. There's a triangle. I'll go down and see if I can find a place to show it to you better. Maybe here you can see it. I can't guarantee that there was a leg of it right up there, but very clearly, let me go right to where the fork in the minecart track is. The one I've been following is there, and it goes on, but there was a lower branch of it that goes like that, and you can follow it around the curve of the hill. There's the intersection, and here for a little, there's another big flat stone. Level is the thing about those stones. Here for a while it gets quite easy to see this and to follow this minecart track with its very, very gentle slope. I still find those big flat stones that are level fascinating. It was Italians that did this, that were here, brought in here by Oppenheimer when he did this, the big works here. And the Italians are known for their stonework. Now sadly, a log skidder came right through here, and they had no idea what it was doing, I'm sure, and broke its way right through the minecart track. We'll try to repair that, or else I'll build a little bridge across it for the hiker. There's where the skidder damaged it, and here you should be able to see it. Boy, when I found this, and nobody knew it was here. I was just walking in the woods on a Sunday afternoon, I think, and I found this, and I thought I'd lost my mind that I was seeing this with no explanation. And right at the spot here where a spring crosses this minecart track, I'm going to leave it. I think on the next video I'll come back up here probably and start here, and we'll go on that way. But now I want to go back down toward the bridge. We're going to go down there to what I call the Enwerd Huts. I haven't come very far, maybe 50 yards, and now I'm on a road of sorts. A road. How old, I don't know. My brother-in-law who owns this property calls this the hogback, this feature. And down there is the bridge. You can probably see that without zooming. And we're going to go just a little bit further down, and this road I'm on actually joins the what I started with the tram road, what I've heard called the tram road. All right, there's the bridge. Now I feel silly calling this feature an Enwerd hut, but people get too upset if I call it by the name that I learned it of its existence by. I feel like I shouldn't change that because that's part of the oral tradition. There, I think, was the fireplace. That stone right there, I think, was the lintel. Those were very clearly laid, this has not been touched. This is waiting to be excavated. I'll probably have more to say about archaeology here. And this is one. This one seems like it was almost double or something. And we're going to go over and look at the other one. That's where we just were. There's the tram road. There's the bridge. And this is the other one. Now, this could have been a test hole, possibly. Someone has suggested that, possibly. This one doesn't look so clearly as if it might have been lived in, but once again, there's a stone that would make a fine lintel. So once again, and that looks like it was laid as a corner. Once again, I think we have here a feature where humans might have once lived. How it got called the Enwerd Huts, I was told that John and Eve Bowser had slaves. And that they came up here and then others joined them eventually. There was a community up here. Let me show you one other one over here. Let's see, there was the first one. There was the second one I showed you. This is the third. And once again, maybe it's a test hole and they found no iron ore. Maybe. I don't know. And down there is still another real small one. Once again, that could have been a place where they dug out a small amount of iron ore. I don't know. And down there is the bridge. And one other thing that I can show you now that should be familiar is that iron rail. I hope I don't fall. Yes, right there it is. Oops. Right there it is. So that kind of brings us back to where we started. You have seen the incline. Maybe one more look at the mountain. It often isn't nearly so pretty.